We're here at the George Eliot Building to speak to Dr. Mark Goodwin, an assistant professor in politics at Coventry University, just to figure out what we can expect from this year's spring budget. Thanks for joining us, Mark.
Thank you.
So what can we expect from tomorrow's budget?
What we can expect? Well, I suppose what's been expected for quite a while with this budget is that it's going to involve some level of tax cuts. This has been the sort of longer term strategy of the government for a while, is that we're at a position where the overall tax burden is currently very high on individuals, and the expectation for some time has been that this budget will be used in the run-up to an election that we know is going to happen within the next year to reduce those taxes and return the tax burden to a more normal level. Now, in more recent weeks, we've seen perhaps the government trying to communicate that the tax cuts will not be of the scale that some people might have expected, but we still would expect to see some decrease in personal taxes and other taxation.
What do you believe the economic impact of these policies will be?
It depends who you are, and it depends what kind of cuts. What we don't know is where those cuts are going to fall and what the distributional impact of those cuts will be. There are more or less progressive tax cuts that might be considered, so in terms of whether they disproportionately benefit the better off or worse off people. So some of the kind of things that could be considered would be national insurance cuts on fuel duty, a fuel duty rise having been announced recently, or things like changes to personal tax allowance thresholds, which potentially has the biggest impact of all if any change was made in that area, which would mean that the level at which people begin paying taxes rises in line with inflation, and that is effectively been held constant for a while, which is effectively a large tax rise. So any change in that would mean an effective tax cut.
So the budget released, and Goodwin's predictions for the budget came pretty much entirely true. I spoke to a local Coventry student, George Barker, and a swing voter about his opinion on the budget and whether that will affect his perspective coming into the upcoming general election.
Well, I wasn't exactly sure who I'm going to be voting for next general election. I was sort of straying away from the Tories to possibly vote for another candidate, but after reviewing and seeing the budget, they have sort of brought me back onto their side a little bit more, but I'm still not entirely convinced, and I'm still undecided who I will be voting for.